In 2011, Cunahan was sentenced to 17 and a half years for accepting nearly $3 million in kickbacks for sending 2,300 children, some as young as 8 years old, to for-profit prisons on false charges.
Juvenile justice system created in 1899. So there's a new customer base. And now we're seeing a 6-year-old being handcuffed, arrested, 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds from grade school.
Some children took their lives because of this. Families were torn apart.
This is metal boxes to store human souls in their body. Correctional facility, it's not going to correct anything. It's going to create more problems, which it does.
Thousands of kids to for-profit detention facilities, many of whom were first-time offenders who probably should have had community service or some sort of slap on the wrist, and instead they were sent to a detention facility for months, in some cases years. Many of those young people ended up depressed, addicted, didn't graduate high school, some lost scholarships. He purposely blocked a county government facility being built so that these for-profit centers could be built. Some of the cash kickbacks were delivered as cash in a shoebox or routed through a Florida condo that he and the other judge set up to funnel money. I mean, there were...
And we're the only one of 2 United Nations members that didn't ratify the rights of children. Number 1 in the world. We have 5% of the population, but we have 25% of the prisoners in the world.
Eddie, he was always a fireball.
We were talking about how funny it would be if we made a fake MySpace page about my vice principal.
I was trying to stay out of trouble. That's when everything started.
Whatever sins you have committed, you can't go back and undo it.
Chiavarella was a no-nonsense, zero-tolerance judge. He always jailed kids.
You are going to experience prison. I'll be glad to put you there.
The way Chiavarella ran the courtroom, you could have had F. Lee Bailey there, and the kids would have gone away.
There's a mechanism that takes over that keeps kids in that system.
No one listened because we were kids.
There was never any instance of guilt or innocence. They were locking him up.
Really high number of kids appearing without counsel.
We have no rights. He's in their custody now.
It is unbelievable. We're talking about children.
I wanted them to be scared out of their minds. I don't understand how that was a bad thing.
Former Luzerne County judge faces charges tonight in a scandal known as Kids for Cash.
$2.6 million
in return for sentencing kids to juvenile detention.
I never sent a kid away for a penny. I'm not this mad judge who was just putting them in shackles, throwing kids away.
He went there as a free-spirited kid. He came out a hardened man, I would say.
Here I was saying we can trust that judge to be fair, and that's not what happened. I was scared every day.
I was only 14. All those years I missed.
This is not a cash for kids case.
This is not bad! You ruined my life! I still wake up from nightmares.
Okay, there's a problem. No disrespect to the woman, though, the mother who lost her son. But there's a overall general problem with this reporting is that they're trying to hang the evils of the criminal justice system on 2 judges, saying, oh, these kids killed themselves, and these judges were acting within their guidelines. So this is a little bit of, or a lot bit of obfuscation. Do you notice, and this is even supposedly alternative media, they put a tiny little loop around these 2 judges, but they didn't widen the loop around the entire criminal justice system. There's not even arrest records available for United States for the last 40 years. We don't know what the trends are. So the media will walk you to the door, but they won't let you go through the door. They'll say, look at this, look at this. And then they'll drain your energy, for example, on these 2 judges or Osama bin Laden or whatever specific thing they want you to look at. They never encourage you to look at the systems that oppress you, which is the issue. This poor guy killed himself because he was in the he got trapped in their labyrinth. But it has nothing to do with bribes. This happens every day. This is every day, all day, but you see the media obfuscating and just picking and choosing. They will never cover systemic oppression.
The other judge involved in the Cash for Kids scandal, Mark Ciavarella, sentenced Sandy's 17-year-old boy to 30 days in a juvenile boot camp for a minor charge of having drug paraphernalia. At the time, Ed was a star wrestler in high school. Sandy Fonzo says her son's sentence started him on a path to the adult court system that culminated in his death by suicide.
This is just reopened wounds that have never healed, that I need to defend my son because he's not here to defend himself. And I am his mother, and I always will be.
Why did your son end up in court to begin with?
He did nothing more than be at an underage drinking party with tons of other kids, but he was caught.
My body, my choice! My body, my choice!
With all these prisoners of war, POWs from the war on drugs, they're prisoners of war because it's declared a war.
And he went in front of Judge Ciavarella because this is the process that they had. And you know, you're trusting in this system that, you know, this is, you know, the good for our kids. And I was told this is, you know, just to scare him, to get him back on track, to make sure, you know, everything is well. And he went into the county juvenile detention center for a month. And in that time, he wanted nothing more. He understood and what he was missing in his life. He just wanted to get back home. He wanted to get back. It was his senior year about to begin. He wanted to get back into his wrestling training, just get back into his life. And I had the teachers, I had his coaches, myself talking and sending letters to the judge's chambers of my son's character and explaining all of this. And I was 100% sure there was no doubt in my mind that when we went in front of that judge, my son was coming home with me that day, but that didn't happen. And he was sent to that juvenile detention center in Pittston. And I believe it was like 8 months. He lost his senior year. He never had the chance to wrestle again, any chance that he had for a scholarship. He came out of there very bitter, very angry, pent up with anger. He couldn't look you in the eye. I don't know what happened in that facility. My son was a very big, strong, proud boy. And he came out broken. I don't know what happened. I try to not think about what happened, and he would never talk about it, but something not good happened to him in there. And it snowballed. He just never recovered. He got into a fight and had to go back into the court system. And actually those charges were dropped. They were not found. But because he was on probation from Judge Ciavarella, he sent him away again, even though he was found not guilty of those charges. And this time he was sent to their other for-profit center, which was 5 hours from our home. It was in Western Pennsylvania near Pittsburgh. And he did a year there, and then was released if he would do this boot camp, which he excelled, and they couldn't talk more good about my son and his character and the discipline that he showed. But it just never ended. It just snowballed. It changed him. It broke him. It stole his youth, his childhood. He would never, ever recover. And it just became too much. And he shot himself in the heart. And we were fighting this. We knew something was not right. We could not get into that courtroom with media. Anything that was trying to be done was shot down. Judge Lakuta tried to step up, and she was ousted and thrown out of the court. These judges had this power And they did what they wanted, and they started their own for-profit centers. And at the time, Judge Conahan was the president judge. So he appointed his friend, Michael Chivarella, as the juvenile judge, who he knew would send these kids into the system, and they funneled them in and collected the money for every bed that was filled. And until this money line was seen, that's when the feds stepped in and all of this came
And it was
out.
exposed that they were getting kickbacks from these for-profit jails. Sandy, I wanted to go back to when you confronted the former judge, now jail, Judge Chivarella, outside the courtroom after your son's sentencing.
My kid's not here. He's dead because of him. He ruined my life. I'd like him to go to hell and rot there forever.
Ma'am, come on.
No, you know what he told everybody in court? They need to be held accountable for their actions. You need to be. Do you remember me? Do you remember me? Do you remember my son, an all-star wrestler? He's gone. He shot himself in the heart. You scumbag.
When you heard about this pardoning, your response?
I was working. I was in my car, and my phone was just going off. And I don't know. I was in disbelief. I was in shock. You would think nothing could ever shock me again, but I was numb. I mean, I just pulled over and sat there trying to understand what was going on and how something like this could happen.
Robert May is the director and producer of the documentary Kids for Cash.
Chivarella, who sent kids away at very high rates during his entire term as the juvenile court judge, it seemed to make sense that they would have the facility more full than not.
Prison population spiked since the 80s, historically centered around money and profit. Now we have privatization, so you can buy stocks in prisons.
Your friend's gonna make this a little more complicated than it has to be. I locked your car.
For what? You talking about traffic? What are you going to my car for?
He got us blocked in.
I'm not your bro. Act like a gentleman.
Stop following us around! That's your last warning! Just because you're a chicken mother and you had no problem.
No stoplights, Judge Goodwin, expired registration, no driver's license. How do you plead?
Guilty.
Plea of guilty, fine you guilty. $50 fine in each case. Driving with an invalid license, $3,500 bond. You're going to have a surcharge on the no driver's license. You're going to be arrested every time you get pulled over. So
I'm always arrested.
Do it the right way. It's easier.
In and out, in and out, in and out. This is nothing to me. It's every day.
All right. Nothing
Thank you.
either. Job security. Job security.
You got us blocked in.
I'm not your bro. Act like a gentleman.
Job security.